Okay, so the next one we're gonna do is the tailored edge seam, which is still one of our more pleasant basic stitches with a few steps. You will have your thread trace line at 1 inch on both pieces. You will line that up. I know on this tutorial I don't have the thread tracing, but we learned to do the thread tracing, and this is how it looks on all of your 1 inch seam allowance for all your pieces. Line up just like you normally will, and stitch it 1 inch. Back 3, forward 3. It's actually forward 3, back 3, making sure that you're pulling those threads just taut as you begin. Don't let your machine ball up your threads by not minding to pull them very slightly taut as you begin. And back 3, all the way up. Needle position all the way up means that your top thread and your bobbin thread will disengage nicely as long as your knee lifter is pushed all the way to the right. If you only lift your knee lifter a little bit, sometimes it can pull, but if you push your knee lifter all the way out, it will release the threads, top thread and bottom thread. Okay, clip and make sure you clean everything. And what's the next step? Press. Okay, so you press that nice on the seam, okay? Just 2 layers together, not opened up yet, okay? But once you have that pressed, then you butterfly, press open. So again, you're pressing first like this, open up your seam, butterfly it open, press nicely, not a lot of steam, right? Not a lot of steam, just so that it's nice and open, right? And then you're going to do a very small stitch. You don't even need to be a quarter. You could be 1/8 of an inch away. Now, 1/8 of an inch is less than a quarter. So this is just to stabilize your edge, your very, very edge, okay? So, and you don't have to back tack this one necessarily. This is just a real small stitch. Maybe a little bit. I'm going to do the other side. So is this more or less of a stay stitch than we did for pink and stitch? Is this a narrower or wider stitch from the raw edge? It's narrower, yeah. It's like literally right next to it because you're gonna see what's gonna happen. And then I'm gonna tell you about a variation on this, okay? Okay, now, take your scissors, your regular scissors, not your pinking shears, just regular scissors, and go ahead and trim that, even in advance of pressing it. And you trim right next to that stay stitch, and it's going to take off fray and any extra unsightly unevenness, okay? And always save your scraps instead of throwing them on the floor. Look at how neat that is already. Can you see that? Like, it already looks neater. So you're basically cleaning this up a little. But that's not what constitutes the tailored edge seam. Not at all. This is just getting it ready. Do you like the perfection aspect of some of these time-honored techniques? They just really make cloth interesting. All right, so yes, you would press this. Now, it's important to be at the ironing station, okay? Because what you're going to do is you're going to press under 1/4 of an inch. And that's inclusive of your stay stitch that you just did. Okay, so be careful that you don't press under more than 1/4 of an inch. You don't need to press like, oof, just 1/4 of an inch is enough, okay? Now, I would go and do that, but I'm in the middle of a tutorial. So my disclaimer on this tutorial that I'm videotaping is that I would go to the ironing station and I would press under 1/4 of an inch, okay? So what you're going to get is this, okay? Then come back to your machine when you do both sides. That's nice and pressed down, and you're gonna edge stitch, okay? You're gonna use the part of your foot, your presser foot, to like just past the inside, so that you're edge stitching. You're not coming in very far. You're essentially coming in 1/8 of an inch. Okay, does that make sense? You're coming in a full 1/8 of an inch in from the folded pressed edge. You will back tack, for sure. And another tip, always put your needle in the work if you're going to release your hands and do something, like adjust the seam or move something around from one angle to a right angle turn. Always put your needle in the work. Even if the machine doesn't stop down in your work, you hand crank it down. Never work with a knee lifter up without your needle in the work. Okay, so you continue on down, edge stitching that beautiful turn which you've pressed under. Nice and slow and even, 1/8 of an inch. A scant 1/8 of an inch. You don't even need an 1/8 of an inch. I like to use somewhat past the inside of the toe to the right, and you'll get a feel and an eye. Please feel free to take images, and also this tutorial hopefully will show enough here. Now do you see, now that I'm gonna trim this nice, look at that. We'll do the same on the other side. Do you see this? Wow. It's neat, and now it is completely stitched, super clean. And we'll do the same to the other side. And then we're done with this one. Any questions here, and do you understand the concept of this as well? Okay.
So we're just like, how much are we folding back again?
1/4 of an inch. 1/4 of an inch after you've done the treatment to the raw edge to begin with. Then you press back 1/4 of an inch, and then you edged it at a scant 1/8 of an inch to hold down that pressed edge that creates your tailored finish.
What advice would you have for somebody who's still kind of afraid of the machine and is fearful of getting their finger that close to the needle?
There's two things. There's a needle minder on some of the machines. You could use that, where it keeps your hand from getting too close to the needle. Or you can set the RPM down really low and stitch to your heart's content as slow. Now look at that. Does everyone see? Come in close. I'm gonna fold this back. Look at how neat it is. And then you would do a final press. Okay, and please feel free to come up close to it.
Like a butterfly press again.
Yep, a butterfly press again. And don't forget my old school tailored edge seam. Okay, I'm gonna stop the tutorial.